In our last session, entitled 11, we noted that right before the greatest mission ever, Jesus loses one of his followers. So he's down to 11 right when they're about to go for takeoff. Our focus today will be on verse 17 of Matthew chapter 28. And when they saw him, they worshiped him, but some doubted. Well, when who saw him? Well, for 3 years, Jesus had done ministry with these guys, these 12 guys, and so they knew what Jesus looked like. They knew his mannerisms. They knew his voice. And they knew everything about him. They knew that Jesus was not a fake. They knew that he was not an imposter, as he calls them on mission. Now, earlier in the mission, Jesus had them figure out who he was by saying, "Who do men say that I am?" And Peter answered that, "Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God," but not before they had said different answers that people had given, like one of the Old Testament prophets and other folks. So Jesus had them identify him at one time. So they had confessed that he was indeed the Messiah and that they believed that. But here we see they still had doubts on occasions after that. After they had identified and confessed that Jesus was Messiah, they would say things like, "What manner of man is this, that the winds and the seas obey him?" So they still struggled through that. There was a natural uncertainty and hesitancy to believing, particularly, that someone had been killed and resurrected. Did Jesus think they should worship him? Well, he did. He didn't hide being the Messiah. In John chapter 4, he meets with the woman at the well. He tells her that he is the Messiah. In John chapter 6, 7, and 8, Jesus is battling it with the scribes and the Pharisees. And he basically, when you get to the end of that, in John 8:58, he says, "I am he." He's letting them know that he indeed himself is confessing to be the Messiah. In fact, confessing to be God. So yeah, he expected that they should worship him. And worship literally means to kiss the hand. It was a sign of reverence. And Jesus did not run from that. It does seem amazing that after all the miracles, that some still doubted. Now, how could that be? After all of these miracles and then the resurrection, how could some still doubt him? Now, before we get tough on people like Doubting Thomas and such, doubt is not the worst thing. If it's a genuine faith-seeking kind of doubt, if it's seeking for real truth, but doubt most definitely hinders genuine worship. The kind of worship that draws one into passionately serving God. Because before we can really passionately serve God, we need to worship the one that we passionately serve. Now, the fact that some of these guys were doubters, and that they went from doubters to worshipers, shows that they weren't gullible, they weren't naive, but they checked things out. And that's good for us 2,000 years later to know that these guys didn't just believe anything, but they did at least check things out. So can worship and doubt coexist? Yes, if it's genuine faith-seeking doubt. Like the one man that said to Jesus, "Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief." And once you get it, once you really, really get it, then you worship. So what does all this have to do with going. The series is called Go. What does this have to do with go? Worship precedes going. You have to know who you're going for. Is he worth dying for? Is he worth, we're counting the cost, is he worth that price? Nothing motivates a person to go like passion. And we're passionate about who or what we worship. Better yet, you have to know that he's worth living for. You see, God's not one that calls us to die for him. He calls us to live for him. So you have to know that he is worth living for, and that is what worthship or worship is all about. Worship is not a Sunday thing or a one-time thing. It's a lifestyle. The people who lose weight and keep it off are those who change their lifestyle, not those who just go from one diet to another, but it's a lifestyle thing. For real worshipers, it's a way of life, not something they turn on and off or do once a week. It's idiotic to think that could sustain us. If this mission is to persevere, then it has to involve genuine worshipers. Now, doubters can come along for the ride, but please be genuine, truth-seeking doubters. The Word of God is clear. Those who genuinely seek God will find God. So where are you at in all this? Are you a worshiper, a true worshiper? Or do you have some doubts you still need to work through?